Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Welcome to Golden Guys. It's Thursday. It's Thirsty Thursdays, and we are here. We are going to talk about some Golden Age comics. We're going to talk about some Golden Age comic artists because some stuff has come up that we always like to talk about. We'll talk about the market a little bit because something just ended a few minutes ago that piqued all of our interests, and it went for a little higher than I thought, but I was pretty close. Classic. We'll get into that. But first, let me introduce DS. How are you, buddy?
I am great. Good to be back on the show. Let me just say this. I feel bad for people who are working on runs of Timely's and Planet Comics right now. I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Prices just keep going up and up and up. And no end in sight. They're just super popular categories. So luckily, I don't collect runs of either of those. So I'm good.
Yeah, runs on Planet, especially Rivets, are just out of control right now. And some of the later issues have piqued a lot of people's interest here. Speaking of timely, how timely is it for you to get here? How are you, Mike?
Oh, I'm good. But very busy at work, so
yeah.
Sorry for being late.
No worries. So I'm in my new area of my office.
Nice. It looks great. Wow, that's awesome.
This is 1/3 of the wall.
You work at Comic Connect?
Right. And then, of course, all the original art up here.
Damn.
Firearms.
Yes.
Talk about that. And then some Star Wars. And then, of course, a mega Star Wars wall.
Wow.
Looking good, man.
And then my work area where I do some gunsmithing.
Looks good.
Yeah.
I've got one thing on my wall, and it's the same thing that's been on my wall for 5 years or whatever. It's Tron. That's
Tron?
it.
Hey, did you?
But I'm not about to deck this place out because this room is going to have some changes coming in the summer. So
I meant to ask you this. Did you get the little Tron figure I sent?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, it was cool. I was at that. That was like a giveaway at one of the. I forget what I was at the Ringo Awards. They were giving away these things, and I saw a Tron one. I said, "Give me the Tron one."
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I got it up here.
It's a cool team too. You know. So we'll call out the chat a little bit. Mike, how are you, buddy? We're just saying we feel bad for you if you're trying to collect some timelies right now.
Well,
yeah, he's already got them all.
I mean, yeah. Thankfully, I worked hard to.
Yeah.
I made the crazy moves I did, which and I got most of the stuff I wanted. But still, I'd like to upgrade sometimes, and every now and then I'll try on the auctions, but always get blown away usually. Yeah. But I found that one cool comic on this. I feel like the CGC boards. I'm not going to mention this online, but I feel like they could make a good comeback this year because of all the new tax bullshit.
They have been. I've been contacted to go back on the boards by a few people saying, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see this?" I'm like, I haven't really been paying attention to the boards, and I apologize to you guys, especially because they're like, "Hey, we were talking about your show the other day, and you weren't on." I'm like, "Okay," but they mentioned you guys, of course, because you guys are the show.
I go on the boards like sporadically. Usually, if somebody shares a link of a sales thread of Golden Age on there with something I like, I'll go check out, or I'll look at the sales posts. I usually don't ever buy anything. Or like once a year, I'll sell some stuff on the boards, but that's it. If I do research online, a lot of times, if you just Google a phrase or an issue or something, one of the results is something from the CGC boards. So I'll go on there. It's a wealth of information. I don't know. I don't want to get on a whole boards bashing thing here, but I'm not really a fan of a lot of what the boards is, but it's a great resource for information, and the sales posts are very productive both ways. A lot of serious buyers and serious sellers. So yeah, I don't see that going away anytime soon. I could expect that to become more popular, sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's been pretty it was prior to the boatload of auction sites and everything else like that, it was my main source to build a lot of my collection. You know, back then in the early 20 teens or 2010s, you could just put out what you wanted and somebody would go up there and show it up here. And so actually was one of the first times I ever went to cons and I met people. Was there. And then they did a virtual con, which was way before COVID or anything else. And it was a really good one. And that was where I found a ton of good stuff. And I mean, I feel bad for the guy that was selling the Neil Adams art back then, because that Neil Adams art was cheap.
Yeah.
That Neil Adams art was going for cheap. The guy had a ton of Neil Adams original art. I mean, a ton. And he was just selling him for maybe, I mean, these pages, some of these pages, I mean, if it wasn't a full-on splash page, were well under $1,000. I mean, the biggest one was a cover, and that might have broke like 2,500 or 3,500. And it wasn't a popular comic. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I mean, the people that had the foresight to buy up original art from very well-known artists back then and hold it until now have made a killing. It was super investments. But I don't, you know, I never was into art, and really, I only got back into the comic hobby like, well, at this point, it's probably like seven years, probably. So a lot of that art was being bought up even prior to that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, well, might as well bring up the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you can share my screen if you want. I already set it up.
You already got it? Let's do it. A book we all, oh, there's Suspense 3. So this book in, what grade was it? 6.5?
6.5 off-white, very small piece of tape on centerfold at staple. So a completely irrelevant, ineffectual note that nobody cares about. And probably that tape is there because this book is notorious for, I think, and I know there's people in the chat, and maybe you guys also know, but I think when they started publishing this or printing it and doing a print run and putting it together, they either forgot to include the centerfold and had to reprint that out later and then insert it into already completed printed out books. And so some of them got out there without centerfolds in them at all, and some had them reattached. I think this is probably one of the ones where they taped the centerfold in after the fact because they forgot to do it initially. It's something like that. So not unusual to see a reattached centerfold on a Suspense 3, although you never see Suspense 3s anyway. But I think in Suspense 3, a lot of times the centerfolds are reattached because they either forgot to include it or decided later or something like that. So yeah, 6.5 off white, basically. I wouldn't even worry about the note. And it just ended tonight for $280,000.
Damn.
Yeah, damn is right. Third highest graded. I don't know what he said. The last one I remember
seems a little low in some ways.
Well, look, I remember when I first got into Golden Age, before I knew anything about it really, and I wasn't familiar with the market. So this was, quite a few years ago or whatever. I remember seeing this book in like a 9.0. I think it was a Pennsylvania copy on auction. It was either on Connect or Heritage, whatever. And I was thinking, I had no idea at the time. I was like, wow, that's super cool. Let me see, maybe I can win this for a few grand. You know what I mean? I had no idea the significance of the book. So that 9.0 or 9.2, I can't remember. I think they were back-to-back 9.0s and a 9.0 and a 9.2. They sold for like 175 grand. Okay, so now 6.5 is outselling those by 50% or more, or 60%. So this book has really gone up in value. There was a 5.0 that sold 2 years ago for $50,000.
Right. That was the one. Yeah.
So whoever got that one got a steal on that. That was a super investment. They paid 50 grand for a 5.0. Since the last 2 years, though, the market has changed. So now 6.5, 280 grand. So yeah, that's a legit sale. But this is a beautiful book, man. I mean, I would say arguably for Dark GA, this is probably at the top of everyone's list. Best Dark GA cover ever.
Yeah. So we were going over a few. Now this kind of leads into one of our favorite topics, which is cover artists, and obviously we all know this one. The grade of this book aside, it is a really nice presenting 6.5, and Schoenberg did his thing, and it is. I throw it up there as one of the most iconic top, of the non-superhero. It's definitely in the top 3. Obviously we have a Fantastic 3 coming up as well, and an auction coming up. That will fetch more than this for sure.
I feel like this is a little low though, and when you compare it to some of the like craziness, like that Phantom Lady.
Well, yeah. Well, I was just going over. I was thinking about the Phantom Lady came to mind, and the Pedigree came to mind again. So I don't think a Phantom Lady.
Yeah, that Wu copy. Right? Didn't that sell a couple years ago or 3 years ago or something?
Yep. And now now they have. From what I gathered, the San Francisco collection, some of the books are coming up for sale soon. And if you want to know what that is, that's the 9.6 Captain America 1. That will be debut. I'm sure that's going to be up for sale soon. You want to talk about a book that's going to break $3 million? I have no doubt in my mind on that one. It's a 9.6, and it is the book. Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the Cap 1 and 5.0. I mean, I was pretty sure that Suspense 3 would outdo this. It's not a more important book, but there's far more of these Cap 1s out there. So I feel like if you're a Golden Age collector with money and you want really big, massive books, you're going to want a Suspense 3. You're also going to want a Cap 1. You're going to want an MMC 4, which was also a nice copy in this auction. And so it's the same money going after these books. And you get plenty of opportunities at a Cap 1, really. I mean, it's not unusual to see a Cap 1 in 5.0. I mean, if this comes up and a Suspense 3 is in the same auction, everybody's putting this on the back burner and going after the Suspense 3. It makes sense. There'll be plenty more Cap 1s to get. You're not going to see too many more Suspense 3s at all, let alone 6.5. So
I think the people buying a Cap 1, like you might get a lot more noobs, for a better word, lack of a better word, going after the Cap 1. Because, like even when I first got into GA, I didn't really know how much about Suspense 3. And it took me a bit.
Yeah,
before I
but
realized
newbies are spending 170 grand on a book, though. You know what I mean? I feel like there's no newbies that bought this.
I don't know. I think if someone's like got $1 million to burn, they're gonna think Batman, Captain America.
Superman. I guess it makes sense.
That's about it, really.
I think
the Golden Age collectors that we all know, you guys we're familiar with a lot of Golden Age collectors. I would say all of them probably would love to own a Cap 1 and a Suspense 3. I mean, both of those books would be grail acquisitions for most Golden Age collectors that I know, almost every single one. I would like to own a Cap 1, but I mean, it's not that important to me that I would spend this kind of money. So I'm never going to waste my time going after it. But if I hit the lottery tomorrow, yeah, I'm going to try to get a Cap 1. Sure, that's an awesome, big, key book. It's not my favorite book ever, but if money was no object, I would add a Cap 1. But if I had 300 grand to spend on a comic and this auction came up, I wouldn't even waste my time on the Cap 1. I'd be all about that Suspense 3. And then even after the Suspense 3, I'll tell you what else I think is outsold it also, which I think is fair.
I think the Suspense 3, like that dude could flip it now if he wanted.
This sold for just under the Cap 1. I think this is a bigger pickup than that Cap 1, honestly, because this is so tough to find this book. And this is a beautiful copy.
Marvel Mimics.
Cap 1 outsold this.
How much is it? Was it?
This sold for $160,000, and the Cap 1 sold for $170,000. So about the same price, but $10,000 difference. I would rather have this for that price because I mean, how often do you see this book? And the couple times I've seen it, it's like a 1-0 or it's completely beat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 7.5. This is far, far rarer animal than a Cap 1 and 5.0. But I guess the price reflects that because it's a smaller key and it sold for almost the same amount.
I think the price on this book has just gone crazy in the past 5 years or so because, you know, it's the first Submariner cover. You know, it's the second best Submariner book period over Marvel 1, and most people can't get that.
Yep.
But, yeah, and it's that
surprised.
early pulpy Schomburg, when Schomburg stuff was still looked like pulpy before he got that classic style that he's so known for. This is like early, like daring
comics. There's nothing wrong with those, like, you know, beat up copies though.
No, definitely not. Yours looks as good as this one. Are you kidding me?
I put you on the big screen. Come on.
Here we go. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Congrats on owning that.
I mean, it's not great, but
yeah, but it looks awesome, dude.
Hey,
it was good enough for me.
It's a Marvel Mystery 4, Marvel Mystery 9, my favorite 2.
This thing was I think I paid like $2,000 or something, and that seemed like a lot back then. And yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so look, here's this relates to planets and timelies, stuff like that. They're rare enough to have a ton of value just for the rarity, and they're not so rare that you never see them. So there's constant sales of timelies and planets, and that those sales are generating market growth at a quicker pace than some other books that you just never see, because you can't move the needle on a book if it never sells. You know what I mean? But when you have continuous sales at a minimum level, like timelies and planets, it's enough to move the needle. It gets a lot more people interested in them because it's realistic that you can get them. You see them enough to get them, but they're rare enough to be special every time you do get one. So I think planets and timelies are really moving because of that. The needle can move so much. So you need sales to drive market growth. Without any sales, you're not getting any market growth. You can't have 3 years in between copies showing up and expect it to be consistent. It's going to be all over the map. But timelies and planets, man, they consistently hit every auction, and some of the tougher issues go for a lot of money because a lot of people are into planets and timelies because it's cool to get into them, and you can do it without like being discouraged that you can never get them. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them out there. So I think that actually helps. And there's not so many that it makes it easy either. I mean, there's still less than 100 on the census for all these respective copies, other than maybe Cap 1. But so they're super cool books. I don't collect either one. I mean, I have a Planet 1 and a Planet 14, and maybe I'll add another Rivet at some point, but I'm not like a Planet collector. And I don't own any timelies. I would buy a MMC 9. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yep. It's 4 and 9 are my favorite. And I'm not the biggest Submariner fan. I mean, I like the character, but I just love MMC 9 probably as being probably the best of the bunch.
There is speculation on all Submariner stuff.
There is. People are going to play the spec game on it, and we understand.
Have they announced anyone officially to play him?
I don't really follow the news. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't think spec plays into these massive books. I had a discussion
with
you
it,
guys, I think, on this show about the Cheetah Wonder Woman 3.
That is different.
I mean, I feel like books like this movie spec is not going to have any effect on these books because
I've seen it with Submariner 1 and this.
I've seen the Submariner 1. You mean the Golden Age one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't think those prices are
obviously the Buscema one skyrocketed, being the 60s one much more available, easier to find.
Because before they were talking about Submariner, you could get Submariner 1. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It was never cheap, but it wasn't like, it was never, the barrier to entry was never like what it is now, which is like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are holding them. And that's another problem. People are holding them because they don't know what's going to happen with the movies. Like, it is a little bit of an unstable thing. So, you know, what if Submariner does become some amazing, beloved, whatever? It's
Yeah,
hard
but
to
look,
see.
I see like a Subby 1 or this MMC 4 or Cap 1. They're moving up in price along with the rest of the market for books like that. I don't see them spiking above the crowd because of movie spec. So, in my opinion, and almost everybody tells me I'm wrong, at a certain level of book, I don't think movie spec has any effect because people who are dropping 100 grand on a book are not specking. Okay?
Yeah. I'm talking
It's
entry
specking
level.
is for 5,000 at most. You can start to get into 10, 20, 50 grand. That has nothing to do with MCU spec. And so, yeah, Subby 1's gone up a lot. There has been movie rumors, but the whole timely market's gone up a lot. And I feel like that's just part of that. I don't feel like it has anything to do with movie spec. But yeah, 5,000, like a 1968 Subby 1, the big premiere issue. Yeah, that's a spec book. That could really spike with news because that's a lot of people will buy that. But I mean, you're not spending 170 grand on this because you might be in a movie. That's what I think anyway.
There were 4 timely books that really jumped. And it was just one spike, and then they just stayed there. It was like barrier to entry was kind of doable, and then it kind of hit, and then that was it. Like it's not, now they're rising. It was like the price to entry adjusted, and that was Mystic 6, which is the first Stan Lee creator, or was it 6 or 5? I don't know. It's the
Destroyer. Mystic 6 is the first Destroyer.
Yep,
that first Destroyer,
and the first Namor Marvel Mystery, like 80 something, 84. I don't know. I can't remember. That one, and then the first Blonde Phantom that spiked.
That spiked,
and then,
yeah.
And then Submariner 1 and the 4.
Yeah, so there was a Mystic 6 in this C-Link auction too that ended yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
so 7.0 creamed off white, 32,000. What I will say though, this one has really good registration.
Yeah,
it's really centered, right?
Yeah, it's on point. The colors are not offset at all. You see that so often on a lot of these. This one's sharply printed.
Look at you with the timely report. What the hell? I'm glad
I watched this auction. All right, so a little admission anyway, I guess. Everybody has been talking up this C-Link auction for months. Like, oh my God, there's so much awesome stuff. I can't wait for the C-Link auction. I didn't really check it out. Other stuff going on. I checked it out recently before it started. And I was like, man, what is everybody talking about? This auction sucks. There's nothing good in this auction. I didn't even watch anything. I didn't put any watch bids on anything. I bid on nothing. I have no interest in this auction at all. It's like, I don't think it's that good. I think it's not a very good auction. But then when I go through it and like talking with you guys, yeah, there's monster timelies and planets. So I get it. The stuff that I'm not into is in this auction. So it's just I'm the one out of the mix on this one. But yeah, I mean, this is a big book.
Yeah.
7.0.
Comic Connect seems to be having. I don't know when that one ends, but I saw that they had a lot of good stuff coming up.
They do. They do have a big book coming.
A lot of timelies too.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the books coming to market, because I do think there's more than usual in past years, obviously because of prices. I do think that you could sneak in some good buys because there's like in that Comic Connect auction I looked at, there was like multiples of the same book in pretty close grades, and I'm like, oof, that's bad for the seller. But it could be a good opportunity to actually purchase some stuff.
I left a message on, I guess Vince runs that. He does those little videos on Instagram. I think the IG account is Metropolis Comic Connect, the same company. And Vince does those little short videos showing off big books coming up in their next auction. I think he's showing off a Soup one or something.
Yeah.
I commented on the post. I wasn't trying to be rude or anything, but
I know he's got another Batman 1 coming.
Yeah, maybe it was a Batman 1. I can't remember, but I commented on the post that it's just so laborious to look at those auctions because everything, hundreds of pages, thousands of items, just everything slopped together in one gigantic, massive, long alphabetical list.
Alphabetical.
And I'll do it. But I went
Well,
to
no,
the
they
other
have
day,
those
and I'm like,
categories by artist or something. They have some weird category that just is not really helpful.
well, you can do an advanced search, and then it takes time too. But like on Comic Link, on the regular monthly auctions, you can click Golden Age, and it's just the whole section's Golden Age, and you can click like high grade silver and bronze, and then they have the regular silver. Like it's much easier. And then Comic Connect, there's thousands of books from like New 52 Batman right next to a Batman 1 from 1940. You know, I'll do it because it's sort of like a job type thing for me. I mean, I'm part of my income is from comics, so I'll do it, and it's like work, but I would consider myself doing it as part of my job. But if you're just a collector, it's far worse, I'm sure, because it takes a lot of time to scroll through that whole thing, and it takes an hour at least out of your day to scroll through that auction. I'll do it because it's part of my job, sort of, but I went to do it the other day, and I'm like, I'm not ready for this yet. I'll do it later.
It's hard enough to keep up with so many auctions now. Like before, I felt like they were spread out, and now everyone's got their A game with all these like great books and all their auctions. So like, if you have to do all that plus scroll through this giant list, I mean, it can hurt.
Yeah. So here's a Planet One that ended tonight on Comic Link.
What grade was this? This is the 7.0.
Obviously old holder, first gen, 7.0 creamed off white. It has a note on this label though, kind of interesting. Oh shit, where is that? Here it is. Oh, there we go. So it's kind of interesting with this note because you can see it says 1.5 inch tear on first 7 pages. I think I heard from somebody who works at an auction house that if you reholder a book that has a grader's note like this on it, they don't put that grader's note on the label anymore. It just goes in the actual grader's notes online. So you could reholder this and that note won't appear. Now, did that stop the price on this? I don't think so. I don't think it really hurt. It's not on the cover. It's not like brittle pages or anything. But the risk is, has the grading standard changed? Where if you send this in for a reholder, they're like, whoa. We actually grade differently now with that tear on all those pages. Now it only gets a 6.0. So there's a risk you run if you send this in for a straight reholder. They may not honor this grade since it happened so long ago. They may have a different standard on those tears now. If I bought this, I would just leave it. I wouldn't mess with it.
That's what I was going to say.
But it doesn't bother me. I mean, this is a book from 1940 that is a 7.0, and it's like the top sci-fi book ever. Lou Fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking Lou Fine, Will Eisner.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book. It's a massive grail, really. So this sold for $21,750. I don't feel like that note about the tears hurt the price. I feel like this is worth every penny of that, and I would not reholder it. I would just leave it as is.
What was the price of the buyer on that one? $21,000.
$21,750.
Congrats to the buyer.
Seems cheap compared to all that other stuff we looked at.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the tears did hurt, but I feel like it's a $20,000 book, and it went for $21,700. I think it's not a super strong price, but it's not light by any stretch. I mean, $21,000.
The colors are great.
What year did that come out?
Beautiful copy.
For a fiction house, GS and I were just talking before it how there are certain books that color fades, bleeds easier, and Fiction House notoriously loses a lot of deeper colors, greens, reds, and blues first.
1940. Oh man.
Yeah, so January of 1940. So this is a 1939 actual newsstand book. It would have been like November of 39 when it hit the newsstands. Correct. I have a 5.5, so I didn't. I mean, I'll tell you, I paid like $6,500 for my 5.5.
But if you had to put a price on it tonight only, what would it be?
Yeah, last time I did that, I ended up losing a National 16. Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably, for insurance purposes at this point, list value mine at 15.
Yeah, that's a good price.
I mean, it's a 5.5 versus a 7. It's only a 1.5. This is 21. I feel like 3,000 a point on this. That's 15, right? I feel like 15 is fair valuation for mine.
Any other great books in this auction?
Yeah, but I can't.
Yeah,
here's the problem. You can't.
Yeah.
Search.
Every site has their issues, don't they?
If I
Everyone.
search by highest, I can't search the ones that ended. Oh, ends. No.
Yeah, ends
Oh
descending.
yeah, wait. Maybe we can do this. Ends
Do descending.
descending, or well, maybe it's ascending because it'll be earliest, right? And then by current bid descending. Let's see if this works. I think it's only going to show the stuff that's still active.
Try descending.
Well, how much is that top notch?
Yeah, it's only 2,300.
Go back to that top notch real quick. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
see, this is stuff that hasn't ended yet. That's the problem.
Whoa, wait a minute. Triumph Comics. What's that?
Oh, I guess we can look here.
See, I haven't looked at this. I guess I see. Fuck. Too much.
I guess I can just use this. If anybody in the chat knows a big book that was on Comic Link that already ended, type it in and I'll look it up because I can't remember. Because it'll still show.
Wait a minute. I want to see the Triumph comic real quick. Oh shit.
230,000.
There's a lot of swearing tonight. Sorry.
It's okay.
3.0 light tan to off white. Pretty good looking copy though.
It's centered,
Oh, it could
right? I mean,
Looks like it could be cleaned up a bit too. It looks pretty
Yeah.
dirty.
needs a bath, but
Yeah, I think that would clean up. A little chip off the back. There's a lot of it's probably not
yeah, well, that thing on the back, yeah, it's pretty rough.
pretty beat along the spine area there.
You know what's weird is to me this book, like, I see it so often and I like it, but like, it just kind of is a little bit boring just because of its availability.
That's why Suspense 3 outsold
exactly.
this.
Yep.
This is a bigger book than a Suspense 3, but I mean, you don't see, but you can get another Batman next month. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not to minimize the book, obviously, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Triumph Comics.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, see, I mean, you don't see these too often, but I like, there's only a few that I like. One that has Hitler on it, which is awesome.
2,200.
Yeah, I don't care about this one.
But here's what I'm saying about the registration for those who don't know. They print the lines and they print like different colors. And if one plate is like offset sort of, then the lines don't match up. And it looks like there's a you can see over here.
The green there. The
I
green.
mean, you can see it right here on his thing by his arm. You can see the green is going off the edge and the yellow. I don't know. These Canadian whites are weird though anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Pretty cool looking.
Canadian, they use such crap.
Reminds
Yeah, I
me
don't
of
know. Maybe
Bullseye.
they all look like they have bad registers. It could just be
Yeah,
that.
Never been a fan of them. I was never a big fan of the way the Canadian. There was a few Canadian whites and reds I liked, and then you could never find them. Like you just look at it, and yes, the registration would be bad, but also it would be just beat up.
Oh, there was a Tech 27.
Oh yeah, there was it a 1.15 or 1.0?
That was a 7.0, but it was heavily restored.
Oh yeah, the Frankenstein.
Color touch, pieces added, tear seals, cleaned, interior lightened, reinforced. Yeah, so 7.0 white pages, but I mean, does that matter if the interior's lightened?
Yeah, if you're gonna have a.
How much did it go?
Yeah. 293,000.
Oh, it's still going.
No, it's over now.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 293,000. If that was a blue label, it'd be 3 million. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be the next 3 million if we could find a 7.0 blue label. But I'm telling you that cap is gonna break records. The San Francisco cap, when that's available, will break records.
Didn't we just have a huge cap like not too long?
This is the 9.6 white pager.
It's not the
9.6
Verso.
white pager. It is a freak of a book.
It's not the Verso one.
No, it's a San Francisco pedigree, which is, in my opinion, better than the Mile High, and we don't even know what all else is in the San Francisco pedigree. It is the nicest single pedigree. Get rid of that Walking Dead one.
I doubt it'll get 3 million.
A 9.6 white pager.
I mean,
It's
didn't that
absolutely-
Marvel one that was not too long ago was super nice, and that didn't.
That was a 9.4, and that broke what 2.8.
Wow, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't pay attention. The past, 20,000 is like I
Oh,
don't.
maybe
Even,
we didn't see the ended ones.
Yeah, if you go to the very end, you usually
I just
find
don't know what page the ended ones start at. So let's try page 10.
the Ditko worm.
No, it's got maybe page.
so this is the these guys will you don't pay buyer's premium, right?
There's a 3% buyer's premium, but they waive it if you pay quick, like within a week or two.
Because I don't remember. Because when I was looking at that Comic Connect auction recently, I saw all these fees, and I feel like I don't remember that from before. Is that like a new thing, or I don't know? I didn't like how they worded it for some reason. I'm
What,
used
the
to
buyer's-
the Heritage one, but they don't add it in or something. I don't know. There's something that ticked me off a little bit. But
Oh,
what are you
Comic
gonna do? Yeah, I felt like you have to add it yourself or something.
Yeah, you do. It's 3%. You got to add it yourself, but they waive it. I've never paid the buyer's premium.
At
Just
Connect
pay right
or
away.
Link?
I pay right away. Actually, I go to checkout. I pay with a check.
Yeah,
So
the
I go to
first
checkout, and then I print out my invoice, and it says include this with your check, and then I send the check in. And it usually
Yeah.
doesn't get processed until after that deadline passes, but I already sent the paper in with the check, so I never pay the buyer's premium. So here's the highest price.
What are
one.
you talking? Connect or Link?
Link.
Okay.
Link.
Comic Connect used to advertise no buyer's premium, and then lately, the last couple auctions,
Yeah, now they do 15%.
there's a lot of
And
them.
you have to add that in yourself, which is like, no, come on.
It's not on every book, but it's on a lot of the. big
Oh,
ones.
it's not. Okay.
No, it's on the high end books.
Yeah, so here's the comic link by highest price. So Tech, Suspense 3, Batman, AF 15, 6.5, 225. FF 5 and a 9.2.
There's the MMC 4.
MMC 4.
Ooh, nice.
There.
Oh,
Nice.
Tech 29.
Yeah, that's. I can't believe. Yeah, that's.
That's got, geez, 6 figures.
4.5, 110 grand.
That's a lot of money for that book. I'm saying it right now.
Yeah.
GSX 67.5 for a 9.8.
I'm done with that's too many of those. None of that impresses me, except for the Tales of Suspense.
Iron Man
But that-
60.
Let me see the Tales of Suspense. That looks like it's centered right.
I think it might be missing
Does it have the
quotes. It's got one quote.
it's got one. Oh yeah, you need the other quote. Yeah.
One quote.
Yeah,
Well,
it
you
doesn't
need
have
the
both.
two quotes.
Yes,
I'll be honest
I
with you.
remember hearing about that the first time, and I was like, "What the hell are these people talking
yeah,
about?"
right.
I've always said I've never seen one with both quotes in person.
Look at that. Look at this.
What is that?
9.9 off white to white. 9.9 off white to white.
Tell me something that doesn't.
Oh,
make
how much did that go for?
52 grand.
Jesus.
sense.
Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? That's fucking retarded.
that's stupid. It's a stupid grade too.
Whatever. I mean, it's a 70s book and it's a Spider-Man key, so whatever. But I mean, good lord, are you kidding me?
Come on, man. That never impressed me.
50 grand for that.
2 quotes.
If you crack this out and resub it, it's going to get a 9.8.
Yeah, I don't know how you got your two quotes.
Oh yeah, you got a nice one.
2 quotes.
Oh yeah, this one we didn't talk about.
I got a half a quote. Oh, the
Cap
Cap
3.
3. Okay, now signed Cap 3. Which
Yeah, and
I-
a decently placed
gotta
signature
get
too.
it.
Yeah, it's a decent signature.
That's a great spot for it. It's not in the way.
Yeah, creamed off white. Looks like a little bit of almost mold.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's,
that's
Yes.
infectious.
it's
Kind of ugly on the back there, but
Pretty hideous back, but front looks okay.
still pencil. This probably could be cleaned up, but you would have to let CCS do it if you want to keep the yellow. Anyway, 47 grand.
oof. Wow.
So clearly, the Stan signature added a pretty hefty premium to this book
Yeah.
because I think it's what 25 grand, maybe 30 grand.
Yeah, it's
What's the
about-
grade?
4.5 creamed off white.
Mm.
It's I wouldn't call it a $10,000 a point book in any way.
It would be at least 30 if it was blue and nice.
I could see 20 to 25 for it.
Yeah, so
Well, I think
47.
the one that was lesser grade recently broke 30. I thought.
Here is a good deal, in my opinion. I know nobody likes Robin, but check this out. It's a 3.5 blue label.
Oh wow, how much?
I mean, I feel like you don't see
That-
this book
what
often
did-
like this.
Yeah, I think you
40,
see
43
Batman
grand.
one,
I feel like
see
that's a
that.
good price.
That's a little high
Is it?
for the grade. Yeah, I mean you see that a lot less than you see a Batman 1, but
Oh, I feel like that's a pretty big book for 43 grand.
Those don't come up that often.
That's what I
Yeah.
think too. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty good value.
I would guess that could be 50.
at 3.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody likes Robin though.
I mean,
That's probably why.
if it sold for 50, I wouldn't have been surprised whatsoever.
All-Star 8.
Yeah, so All-Star 8, same grade, same price. 3.5, 43 grand.
I like that book better. Not for the
3.5
Wonder
off
Woman
white.
fact, I like the Spectre on it.
I'd rather have the Robin than this.
I like Dr. Fate too.
If
I
Wonder
would choose
Woman
this
was
just because of Spectre.
if
But-
Wonder Woman was on it, I would want it.
Oh yeah, I again like we get into the Sensation One of the.
Oh, how much does Subby go?
41.
That's a
Fuck.
6.5.
See, that's expensive.
6.5 cream pages, 41,000.
That's a middle of that's not an early timely.
No, there's
No.
tons. I feel like there's tons of these around.
Yeah,
Wasn't there like 7 of them on eBay at one time?
it was a lot.
Yeah, and most of them were owned by the same guy.
Yeah,
Well, whatever. This one maybe was owned by him too, but I don't know. Big book, but this is 1941, spring of 41. So it's
I've seen some raw copies of that will rival that.
It's still pre-war. It's pretty good, but
oh, here you go. This is
Oh, for God's sake!
dumb too. But at least it's got white pages. It's got an overwrap.
Yeah,
though. I don't
9.9.
know how it gets a 9.9 with an overwrap like that.
Yeah, I don't know why that gets. I think the 9.9 on that.
how much?
Just stop giving out 9.9s.
40,000.
40,000 for a Teen Titans.
Jesus.
That's dumb. I'm sorry. I just think it's dumb. If you crack it and resub it, you're gonna get a 9.8. And what's this?
I mean, I like that book. I like the book as overall, but I think that is. I mean, you're buying a 9.9. You got penis issues. That's all.
I mean, look, you got one staple that's partially onto the front cover. The other staple is further out, so the staples aren't lined up. It's a
Yeah.
slight overwrap that goes from top to
Wait,
bottom.
what's above that second that staple? The top staple. It looks like there's a.
No, it's just ink.
It's just ink. Okay.
I don't know. So whatever, 9.9. That's fine. A 9.8 of this is like 1,000, so this is 40 times more expensive. I don't know. Whatever.
I've
I'd
had
rather
enough
have
copies
this
of
book.
that.
I'd rather have one of these.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, absolutely.
9.2, creamed off white. This one's pretty common, but not in a 9.2.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a high grade of a common.
38 grand.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense though. I mean,
There
it's
is no lack of money. I just want to say that. Like,
true.
dude, these auction houses, I mean, the amount of money they must have gotten in the past like 3 years is just incredible.
Look how bad restoration hurts massive books. This has pieces added, pieces replaced, color touch, tear seals clean. 9.4. Right?
It looks fake.
35 grand.
It just looks
It's
fake.
sold for the price of a 2.5.
It just looks
Too
fake. to
low.
me.
I feel like high grade restored ones of that not too long ago were going higher.
Oh, the astonishing, nice.
I
Oh,
think
that's
that
Bethlehem,
you-
right?
it's a limited clientele who might want a high grade one that doesn't care about the
Hang on, is that a 9.2 of that book?
This is a 9.2 cream off white. This is Bethlehem
That's
single
nice.
highest grade.
Yeah, that is ridiculously high for that book. And it's a
Yeah,
great
this
book.
was 33 grand. I think this is a good price. If you're into PCH, you know this is a book that's tough, and it's one of the better PCH books.
33.
by Atlas.
Man.
So I think this is worth 33. That's a good one. I mean, highest graded copy of one of the top tier. I mean, if you broke all the PCH into thirds, this is well into the top third.
I'd rather have this than any of the 9.9s.
Mystic. Oh, here's another 9.9.
Oh, for God's sake.
Another overwrap. This sold for 32,000.
Probably thumbprints all over it. Come on.
Where I've had quite a few copies of this book. I like it.
I love the book because I love the book, but the first book I bought with my own $5 on my birthday. But
here's one 31 grand.
it's a good book though.
6.5. Yeah, it's not Schomburg though.
No, it's not.
But it's
Yeah,
a
but
Hitler
it's
cover.
only Simon.
It's a full Simon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's a good. I'm not a timely guy. I don't know. 31 grand is what it's sold for.
I think the Astonishing did. Yeah.
There's another 9.9.
Oh boy, here we go.
27,000. I think a 9.8 of this is like what's a 9.8 of this? Maybe $500, $600. It could be off. It could be like 1,000.
I'm pretty sure you could find one if you went digging somewhere.
Damn, 9.4 on this.
That's a high grade.
Jesus, yeah, 9.4 off white.
What year was that one?
Late.
43.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Wow. So that was
No,
27.
It's not
That's
late,
pretty-
but you know, mid.
I mean, it's mid-war, but
Some of those mid ones are actually rarer because of the paper shortage.
G.I. Joe 9.9.
G.I. Joe.
You notice these are all old holders too.
I love
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
Because they wouldn't get 9.9s now.
No, I'll tell you, I've had several copies of this. I had 3 at one time, and they were all nice. This has a cardstock cover, so if it's not dinged, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So this might legitimately be like a 10-0 type book because it's got that cardstock cover, and the book is really thick. It has extra large staples. This book holds up really well, but as soon as you get a dent in it, it doesn't get out. You can't get it out. But nice thick book with cardstock cover. There's a newsstand copy. So that was 27,000. There's a She-Hulk in 9.9 for 27,000. First Lex Luthor, 26,000.
That's a good book.
Yeah, I like that cover too. It's nice.
Yep. It's one of my favorites of the action. I like the fact that it's got the white on the top instead of the yellow. I always like that on that one.
Yeah, it's nice. 5.5 off white. Yeah, that's a pretty nice copy. It looks like it has a.
What did that go for? Did that break 20?
Look at this spine split though.
What?
How is that a 5.5 with a split? That's like that's like an 1.5 inch spine split.
I'd buy it for the grade.
How does it get a 5.5 with a split that big?
I didn't even submit it.
Yeah.
I usually lead the league in 5.5s.
Yeah, I know. This is a 5.5
kicking-
with a 1.5 inch spine split. I don't know. It feels overgraded to me. I just bought a book with a spine split that was almost the same in the same place, same length, and it's a 4.0. Which I'm all right with a 4.0 on
What did that go for? What did that go for? That break 30 or no?
26.
No, that's good. That's a fair deal. Oh, 13, right?
Oh yeah,
This is
Yeah.
one of your favorites, isn't it?
it's a good one. It's definitely one that I don't want to let go because I feel like it's the first one after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And it's pretty
It's the
iconic.
For America issue, yeah.
Yeah, it's
What,
got the Remember Pearl Harbor down here.
And it's not Schomburg, but it's still pretty cool. And I like how it goes all the way up. Like there's no horizontal break by the title.
Yeah.
They usually have. What did that go for? That I mean, and it's relatively uncommon.
22.
That's a pretty good deal in my opinion. But I guess it depends how many are above it, but I can't imagine there'd be too many. It's a nice. It's one of those books too where if you have it in decent grade, it really shines.
It looks like there's a 9.4, a 9.0, 2.85. That's all that's ahead of it.
Wow,
So
that's not much. Yeah.
4 ahead of it, and 2 others at 8.0. So yeah, that might be a good deal then.
It reminds me of that book you sold, The National, where he's just massive and he's taken up the whole like.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the harbor too. Same
Yeah.
deal.
The Reed Crandall one.
Yeah, whoever drew that, what was that? Shores or Avison?
Avison.
Yeah, he probably saw that Reed Crandall one.
Yeah, great.
How much?
Yeah, this is why I don't like putting prices on books, because people are like, come on, just put a number on it. So I go above what I think is market because I'm not trying to sell it. And
Hey,
then,
I think if you get that one book that we were talking about behind the scenes for the same price,
yeah, I bought that.
That's gonna be. I think that's a good trade.
Yeah, I mean,
that way.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, I'm not fully over it. I'm gonna miss that. I had 2 copies of that book. I kept what I liked as the better one, and then I put a number on it, and the dude didn't even hesitate, and he just claimed outright. So obviously, I could have put a bigger number on it. I liked if I put a number on a PC book that I don't necessarily want to give up, I want it to actually be a hard decision for the person. And if they begrudgingly accept it, I'm cool with it because, hey, you didn't want to pay that number. I didn't want to give up the book. That seems fair. We both suffer some pain. You know what I mean? But this one, I feel like all the pain was on me because I put the number on it and the dude's just like, yes, I'll take it. And I'm like, damn it. So I feel like, yeah, so that makes it worse. I like to put a number on it. And then
next time that happens, you're definitely going to put a couple grand padding on there above what you think. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to put like massive numbers because then I won't even put a number. But
you did do it for the blue bolt.
Man, I tell you, the price I put on that was what it would sell for. I mean, what I've seen those sell for recently, so that's not out of line. The flight, I put a number on, honestly, that I thought was high, and nobody claimed that, obviously. But yeah, that's dangerous to do, man. That's risky behavior, putting books out there and putting numbers on them. It's risky.
Speaking of the Amazing 3, do you still have yours?
No, I sold it.
Okay. Because I know you still had some Spideys.
I sold 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, basically last year I did an investment project where I picked up a bunch of Spideys. That was like in sort of a project. I do little projects every year. Did you make good money on that? Yeah, on the 2, 3, and 4, I made 40% profit on those 3 months.
Oh, awesome. And yeah, that's a good call because that movie.
8 months. Was it 8 months, I think? Yeah, I feel like I'm happy with it. It worked out the way I was hoping. So yeah, I'm happy with it. And it's cool because I will always be able to say I owned those books in high grades.
Yeah.
I just sold the 2 I just shipped out yesterday, honestly.
Oh, nice. Damn.
So
what's the oldest book now in your collection? Not date wise, but like book that you've kept the longest. Is it the Planet?
I've had the Planet 1 for like 3.5 years.
You still have the Dynamic 8?
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
I got a Crack Comics 51 with a werewolf on it. I bought that like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I think the oldest Golden Age PC book I have is like 3 to 4 years old. I don't really have anything. But, I got into Golden Age. I didn't have money to buy the keeper level Golden Age books until about 4 years ago. So I still have some from when I first reached the point in my collecting where I could afford those.
And that Blue Bolt you got is the second one you've had, right?
No, the sci-fi? No, that's the only one.
Oh, okay. You've had
I bought that in a Connect auction.
That was a good buy.
Thanks. Yeah. The next day, one sold on the boards, same grade for like 25 to 30% higher than I paid for that, like already one day after. And it's selling now for like double what I paid. Yeah, they're investments, which I like to see the values go up, but I also like the books. I'm passionate about them. So the Golden Age stuff, I have a lot of books going back three years, because that's when I first was able to get them. And when I got them, I just haven't given them up. Mask One too. I got a Mask One I got a couple years ago.
Yep.
And your Chamber Chills, you've had a few of those, right? But no more.
The Chamber Chills 19, I had 2 copies of that. I sold those. Yeah, but I used to have all the PCH Grails, and I sort of moved on from PCH to stuff from the 40s.
I was gonna say obscure dark GA from the 40s.
Yeah, I moved back to, like, I have a couple MLJs now. I have like a Chesler. I've got some Fiction House, some Lou Fine stuff. Like I got 2 Hit 5 and Hit 7, like stuff like that. Before I was just buying PCH. I don't have any PCH left, like strict PCH. Wow. I don't have any.
Well, you get the Mask.
Yeah, but that's not PCH. That's like 45.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking like 1950 to 54, like Chamber of Chills era, Black Cat Mystery 50 era PCH.
The dawn of EC and Bill Gaines is when you got to start all that.
Yeah,
So
I don't have any of that left.
So which ones will leave your collection first out of the Mask, the Planet, and the Blue Bolt?
What will leave my collection first?
And the Dynamic, yeah.
Between the Mask, the Planet, and the Dynamic?
And the Blue Bolt.
And the Blue Bolt? The Dynamic is my favorite of those.
That's not going anywhere.
So I likely won't ever sell that.
Because it's really hard to find as well. You got to throw that out there.
Well, it's super hard to find, and it's super awesome. It's like my favorite GA cover ever.
Right.
The Mask would probably be the first to go.
Probably get
Not
the most.
because I don't like it. It's the lowest grade of those books, and it's got a little chip off it. It's a 2.5, and it's not a super rare book. There's like 50 or 55 on the census, so I could replace that and upgrade it. It's only a 2.5, so I wouldn't have any heartburn getting rid of that. The Planet is a 5.5.
You're not going to find
get rid of that. I will likely never get another one that's at all, or especially not comparable. So that one I would hold on to, probably that and the Dynamic. The Blue Bolt.
That's 7.0, right?
No, the Blue Bolt I have is a 4.5.
Oh, 4.5. Okay.
I like that book a lot, but again, it's not super rare. I could get another one. So probably the first to go would be the Mask, just because of the grade, and it's not super rare. And then the Blue Bolt, not because of the grade. The grade's good, but it's not super rare. Then the Planet, because it's a nice copy. I have a nice copy of that book, and it's pricey. So that's hard to replace. And then the Dynamic is nearly impossible to replace. And I like it better than almost every. I like it better than every GA cover there is. That's my favorite GA cover. So,
I found, and maybe this is the case for you, but I found like if you have a book that you love and like your Dynamic, and it's also low grade, but it's also super awesome presenting, that's more of a keeper. Like the Planet, I could see you finding one that looks just as good but is lower grade, and then so you'd be like, okay, well, I'll make lots of money off of the high grade one and then get a decent low grade one or something. But the low grade guys that you fall in love with, those things are hard to pry from our hands, I think, because there's less incentive to.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, like for the Planet one, at a certain point, I would sell it, because the money that you get from a comic has value that can be used in other ways in your life. And if that amount of money can enhance my life, the quality of my life, more than the enjoyment of that book, I will get rid of the book and take the cash. But right now, let's say somebody offered me 15 grand for it. 15 grand is not going to be so life-changing that I would rather have the Planet one to enjoy. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, like if you're like
35 grand or
it made you enough to start a business or something, or like buy a big house or all in one shot, then yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it depends what the things are going for too, but and what I have in them. And here's the thing: I've come to terms with the fact that I don't have much regrets for selling stuff because, like that book that you and I talked about that I just made a deal for.
Mm-hmm.
That's a book I've wanted for a long time, and because I gave up the National, I was able to get that. So there's always new awesome books out there for me to get that I've never had before. So it's like you lose one love and you get a new one, and it's all one big wash. And yeah, there are some books are harder to part with than others. But then there's other books, like you never know what the future is going to hold. And like last year I picked up, a Zip 22 that I didn't even have on my radar, and I scored it, and it's a freaking awesome book. So who knows what you're going to end up getting in the future. And so if you get rid of some stuff and move on, you're bound to get some other good stuff come your way. So it all works out, and then you just get to experience a variety of new books all the time. That's sort of how I look at it. But yeah, it doesn't make it easy to part with like that National 16. That was tough.
I can show one thing if you make me large. So I just want to vent and complain a little bit of that the heavy prices are invading my neck of the woods. So this is the first Akira. Here, I got mine.
Oh, wow.
I think for like $100, maybe 2 years ago or something, maybe. And the last couple, it's pretty rare. I think I've only seen like maybe 2 or 3 of them sell in the past 8 months. I'm sure I missed some, but this one came up recently, and 2,100. So I'm just like, what? Get out of the waters.
So are you going to sell it, or are you just going to keep it?
No, I'm keeping it. I mean, kind of like what you're saying. Like, what could that buy me? Like, obviously, if that could get me something amazing in the golden age, sure, I probably would do it, because this is like 1980 something, I think. But like, what is this year? I don't know. But $2,000 ain't gonna. It's still relatively low, right? For something pretty first appearancey, 2,000 is pretty low when you compare it to all our stuff. But from the last two, like you could still see it on Yahoo Auctions. The previous two didn't. I don't think they went higher than $200. And this one, yeah.
Yeah, there's a book that I was looking at picking up for a while. I always sort of wanted one, but it was not like a super favorite book of mine. But I remember when I was into comics when I was younger, there were some of those like indies that are now super popular, like Goon 1. I really want a Goon 1.
I have Goon 1.
I remember reading that when it came out.
Yeah.
Crow 1 is a book I've always wanted. I'm not like a huge fan of the Crow series. It's nostalgic, but it's also a big book, and it's a cool cover, and it's a cool character, and it's got history to it, and I like it. So I would want one of those books. TMNT 1 also, but Crow 1, that book has gone nuclear over the last 12 months. So, yeah, that's a cool book.
Baker.
It's a beauty.
Those don't get much attention, and I don't see them very often either.
No. This is a very early Baker cover, and you can see a little kind of a Phantom Lady-esque kind of face going on.
Yeah.
Kind of. This is 1945, so it's 2 years before.
Is that his first? I saw someone selling something, or Wave is on.
Jumbo 69. Jumbo 69 is his first work. It's a big confusion, but that's an early cover.
Did he do the cover of that first one?
No, he's an interior only.
Oh, you want to see the Jumbo I picked up?
Yeah, I love that one.
Here's a Jumbo.
Yep, got that one.
That's a cool one.
You got that one too?
Oh yeah, I was gonna go through in my jumbos. I just put up the Jumbo 29. 29. But look at this, number 11, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I saw that. What did that end up going for?
26. It's a 4.0 off white to white. It's a Lufine.
26.
2,600.
Oh, okay, 100. Okay,
Yeah, so I bought this in the last.
that's a
Sunday.
good deal. That's a good deal.
I think it's a good deal. It's a bright red too. The colors are good on this. So the word is, and this is from other people, but multiple other people have said it. I never actually researched it, but the word is that was intended to be the cover for Planet Comics 1.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason they changed and did it something else. But they're both Lufine covers, that and Planet Comics 1. That Jumbo has a back cover ad for Planet Comics 1 also, which is kind of cool. And Fight and Jungle 1 also. Those 3 ads are in the back cover. So yeah, I'm excited to get that. It's cool. It's another Lufine. I've got, a couple Lufines now. I've got maybe.
Well, you know
4 or
that
5.
I know Fantastic 3's coming up, so save up.
Yeah.
Which one is coming? That one that I showed on the chat?
Yeah.
Oh God, I didn't know that was actually going for sale.
Well, I don't know if it is yet, but I know it's.
Well, look, I've never spent, the most I ever spent on a book was $8,000.
it'll go higher than that, I think.
I've spent $8,000 twice, and both of them were Silver Age books. The most I've spent on a Golden Age book is like $7,000.
About right.
I'm really comfortable in that 5 to 10 range. Even if I could go higher, sometimes I'm not inclined to. I feel like there's really quality stuff in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Like, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get awesome. Like, the one I just made a deal on, Mike, that one, the Jumbo 11, like the Planet, I spent $6,000 on at the time. Now
When are you going to show that other book you got?
after it ships, probably.
Okay. Well, because we
I
have a
don't
show.
like to jinx it until at least it's shipped.
Yeah. I don't know if we can do a St. Patrick's Day show sober.
But we
Maybe.
could show green covers.
Green. I was thinking of doing green covers, and it's 5 years almost to the day that we lost Wrightson. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
What? Really? Jesus.
Yeah, 5 years already. It was 2017. It was the day after St. Patrick's Day, and I found out on the 18th and 19th, the day after he died. Yeah,
That's
yes, 5 years already.
Yeah, my Bronze Age horror collection, I'm pretty happy with. There's only a couple books I still want. So I haven't lost interest in it, but there's only a couple more that I really want badly. So I'm just sort of taking my time, and I'll get them when I get them. But I feel like I have 90% of what I want for Bronze horror.
Yeah,
And most of
there's
it's
one Bronze horror. Bronze horror. I think I got all of them.
Yeah, I need a Witching Hour
I
13.
have every Wrightson work I have every Wrightson cover, non-Batman, because I only got like 2 of the Batman covers he did. Because some of the times back then he might have done like a little bit of it, but not all of it. Like he did some parts of one Conan book. I have that Conan. I have the whole run of Conan. So, but like I was just literally going through all the Marvel Wrightsons. I have 100%, and all of those are near mint. So I don't grade them, but because I usually end up grading them, I'm like, I get frustrated with grading. Not that I don't.
Sometimes I'll look at those DC horrors because there's a lot of like awesome covers you could just peruse.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
And there's still a lot that are like
They're hard to
undiscovered.
find. They're hard to find, and I find that with black cover comics,
Yeah.
You just kind of need a certain grade.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. I just can't buy it. Like they're
like
not.
I love the carousel.
If they were
one.
$5 or something, sure, I'd buy tons of them, but like they're not cheap. So,
I have that, but like my new favorite is that carousel. The skeleton.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's Kaluta and Wrightson together cover. Yeah.
Which I love my Kaluta, not just for the Doctor Strange stuff, but I like
yeah.
Kaluta a lot. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, the Bronze horror stuff So
Then there's
I
a Nick
think,
Hardy one that's really good too.
yeah, the best stuff for DC Bronze Horror is 1970 to 1973.
Yep.
4-year span there.
Shit paper, by the way.
Yeah, it's really tough to find in high grade. I usually shoot for like 9.0 or better, and if anything better is gravy to me. So I have a lot of 9.2s, a couple 9.4s, but then the 9.6s and 9.8s are there's really not a lot of them, and they go for a lot. So the wheelhouse is like 9.2 for me on like 70 to 74 DC horror, and that's a really good range. I feel like it's a good investment range. It's really top quality books. Like they look great. They're in great condition. They present well. They're tough enough to find. They're rare and great at 9.2. That's like my wheelhouse grade for DC horror is 9.2.
This is a Kaluta book I got. Oh, where'd he go?
He went to go grab something.
I was gonna show him the. He drew just a little head.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was free, or it's a nice guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is becoming one of my favorite Wrightsons here.
Oh, Chamber of Darkness.
Oh, that is cool.
It is
I
so
never
good.
would have thought that was him.
Yep, 1970.
But now, I could see it. Oh, absolutely, I could see it in that leg,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, see this Kaluta
not a
little.
mark on this.
Check out the little Kaluta head he gave me.
Nice.
It's got a great.
I have some. I have a piece of Kaluta art somewhere. I can't get into everything right now.
Yeah, I have a Kaluta. I think I only have one. It's a bronze horror book though, but it's so good. Let me grab it. I'll show you the Kaluta DC book I have. It's really good.
What's going on? Are there people actually watching this? Let's see.
We get a lot of people that watch this on the replay because it's long and they just put it on and listen to it on the podcast while they're doing. So I get a lot of comments like the day after our shows saying that they watched it the day after. This is a Kaluta.
I would so watch this or listen to this show. Oh, look at those beauties.
Yeah, one of my favorite Bronze Age horror from Marvel, Tower of Shadows, another Wrightson. And this is cool because there's a story behind who those two guys are.
Kaluta had a really elegant, nice style of Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah, there's the one Kaluta I have, which I can't believe it's not over here where I thought it was.
I mean, it was all four of those guys in the studio, right? Wrightson, Barry Smith, and Jeff Jones, right? And then Wrightson, Kaluta, Barry Smith, Jones. Yeah.
Walt Simonson too.
Oh, really? He was there?
Yep.
Yeah, this is 1973, and this was pretty cheap. I think I paid like $120 for this, maybe, in 9.6. If this was a Wrightson in the 9.6, it'd probably be $700. Probably more, even, honestly.
I feel like you can get some great deals buying 9.6s because people just want to ditch it for the 9.8.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're still expensive when you can get a 9.2 or a 9.4. I mean, look, a 1973 book, I don't need a 9.8 or even a 9.6. This one I just bought because I liked this one and I was looking to pick it up. And then when I saw a 9.6 for like $120, why not? But I would have bought a 9.2 of this.
The last 9.6 I ever bought, I think it was the only 9.6 I ever bought, was this one.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the book does not look 9.6 at all in there. I don't know what the hell.
Two superhero Wrightsons from Marvel.
I was just telling DS, like, this 9.6 I bought just did not, like, if you examine it, it just is like, what? That's not a 9.6.
Actually, I have
the 9.8, you saying?
Yellow label of this too.
It's less than a 9.6.
Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. But look, that book signed in a 9.6, you got a good deal on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like, I don't know. It just seemed cool.
I don't know. I remember reading that. That was when I think look, Miller was instrumental in that
Yeah.
whole era in comics, and in particular, the Wolverine miniseries, the Batman that you just showed, that little run, that 4-book
His
miniseries,
Daredevil run, man.
and
And
the
Daredevil.
Daredevil. He brought a dark quality back to some characters that were languishing. Really,
Yeah.
well, Wolverine was a new character.
He kind of made the Man Without
New-ish.
Fear cool again. And nothing against Gene Colan, who did great Daredevil covers. The writing was just, no offense to Stan Lee, but
I'll tell you what, though, if I could rewrite history, I would have Frank Miller write that Wolverine miniseries, not fucking Claremont, because the story was not good.
It's
Well,
the
the
same
story was
thing.
alright.
It was so I guarantee if you try to read that at nighttime, you are falling asleep before you finish issue
The
1.
best Wolverine run
I mean, I've
was
got
the
the,
Buscema run.
Sorry, what'd you say, JD?
I like the Buscema run of Wolverine that leads into Specific.
I
I like it.
think the story was good, but you know, as a kid when that came out, I was like, finally, Wolvie's getting his own series again. This is epic. And then I was like, why can't they draw him like Wolverine instead of this Patch guy?
Well, I like Patch, man.
No.
Yeah, Patch. I'll tell you what I like about Frank Miller's art, though, especially with Wolverine, and especially in this miniseries with the whole samurai sort of tie-in and theme.
Yeah.
He has this, Miller has this slashing style with these long panels, either vertically or horizontal, with the swords and Wolverine's blades. It's very slashing, and it really works well with this story and with Wolverine as a character. I remember reading this. I had all 4 of these issues, and now I just have them in reprints. But
I have all
really
4 of them. I got them all graded 9.6 or 9.8 on all of them. Sold a lot of them, or traded a lot of them away for something. I don't know. I didn't.
Yeah, there's one page in these. I can't remember which issue it's in. It was vertical panels, and I could see why a lot of people don't like Frank Miller, but the art, it's got a quality that's got an excitement to it and an action to it. It's like a slashing sort of style to it, and I really dig it. And it works well for something like Batman or Wolverine or Daredevil too with the acrobatics. Yeah, it's not for everybody. I won't think I would want like Miller drawing like X-Men or Avengers or something, but these acrobatic sort of characters that are like loners and have like a dark history, darkness to them. I think Miller really does an excellent job with that. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of Miller, especially the Batman, the Daredevil, and this Wolverine.
I've been buying a lot of Japanese books from the era that he was inspired by. This artist, and you could see where he's getting all this ninja stuff from. He was like clearly, and they talk about it, like how him and like Larry Hama were influenced by the Japanese comic books.
Absolutely, Larry Hama was, yeah. I mean,
it's cool. The Wolverine miniseries too. We're way off Golden Age, but that's the last page of Wolverine mini number 4, and then this is the cover. And 172 where the story continues with the wedding, and then 172 and 173 are in this this trade. So that's cool. This has 1 through 4, and then 172 and 173. So it's got the whole 6-book story arc. So yeah, this is a cool trade to pick up if you like that. Frank Miller and that story arc with Wolverine in Japan.
This kind of leads into our topic, though. Knowing who does your covers in the Golden Age and what resources do you use?
Oh yeah, god damn, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, so we'll do this for a little bit here.
So I was
going to say there's 3 I use, and I use the GCD.
Well, wait, let me do the lead up to this, because it came from. I can find this. So there's this Thrilling Comics. I think it was number 12. I can pull it up here, but it was on Instagram. Night Tiger, him. He's got awesome. He's like one of the best pickers. I have to say,
Definitely.
He's just been going strong, getting Golden Age stuff endlessly, but cheap stuff, and he finds great deals. And I mean, his collection now has got to be a lot of long boxes of golden. But he told me the name of the cover artist, and I was like, as far as I could tell, that's a Schomburg. And then he was like, I would love that to be Schomburg, but according to the Grand Comic Database, which is called comics.org now, so don't get confused, but that they don't credit it to him. And I did all this research trying to figure out what the hell, because to me, it's clearly a Schomburg, and CGC listed as a Schomburg, but it on Grand Comic Database. I feel like when they don't know something, they can just go a little bit overboard with who they think it is. Like if they get one like confirmed credit on the book, they like assign it to like every single thing in that whole book, and it's like that's not right. So, and then there's a bunch of sites where you think, okay, I'll see what these people say, and you can trace it back. A lot of them pull from the Grand Comic Database, or they pull from some other thing. So I don't know. I thought it would be a good topic to just talk about what you guys use when you run into that situation and what's out there,
I personally have had discussions with CGC. I've sent them Providence from GCD, My Comic Shop. All these places have these there, but a lot of them have question marks. So there's some sites with certain artists that are devoted to that artist. So you can look up there, and those people really they usually do their work, their research for you. If you're looking for a particular artist, if it's a particular book, there's three ways. Don't always trust the CGC label, because I can say right now I have issues with Phantom Lady 21.
And they never really say anything. They'll just like omit it next time.
Yeah, I mean, I question who did some of the books. The Blonde Phantom. There's a few of those I say, no, I don't think so. There was a moment in the 40s at Atlas. A lot of those were misdone that have been fixed lately. Again, when people started signing the books, signing the cover art, things change. But a lot of times in the early, especially the Timely days and the early Atlas days, they weren't allowed to sign their works. And Fox as well. Victor Fox, there was a reason they did not do that on a lot of Fox. So those covers I tend to see a lot more of. Is it there now?
And they signed. Sometimes they did sign, but it was their pen name.
Right. In some. So
you don't even know. It could be.
Right. And I personally use a few resources like that. I try to find who, like a particular artist, like there's a great group of people who did a great work on Buscema that I was able to get him on a few CGC label books. I have his first cover, and that's the one I'm holding on to until they say this is the first work of his. I've got his first works, and I want them to admit it, and they're just saying, well, we do agree with you that that's it. I said, well, then just take it off that stupid Strange Tales, which was done 30 years later, for crying out loud. I mean, if first work of Marvel, it was Atlas, it was Timely. He did Atlas as The Thrilling. Is that the one that they say is Schomburg?
This is the one that GC
Comic Davis.
I mean, they changed it. Are we supposed to just call it comics.org?
Yeah, they did change the name.
Well, who do they say that's cover is by?
They say this is what the hell is it? Ken Platt, which did the inside.
Right.
And if you look at that guy's art, I really don't think he did this.
What year is that?
I think it's a 41 or something. But I mean, that plane is so Schomburg. I mean, you can't get any more Schomburg than that. Do you want to make it larger? I could Try
Yeah,
to.
I'm gonna put you on the big screen.
No, that's you can't really see it too well. Maybe I'll.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that's Schomburg just because of the title, and he
And
did
the
so
water.
many.
And the water as well, you know. The I'm grabbing that book so I could show it. The and yeah, you know, you can't trust those CGC labels for sure, but
What number is that?
I think it's 18. Let me see. I'm using my good old fail-safe here, photo journal guide.
Yeah, my comic shop calls it a Kin Plat also.
Yeah, because they pull from GCD, the comics.org.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And sometimes that site is amazing. But
I never go on Grand Comics Database. So.
Another thing that I don't like, well, what gave it away to me a little bit as well is also when you go to Grand Comic Database, it's a little hard to search, but you can do some pretty cool searches there. But when I searched Kin Plat's confirmed covers, it was not listed. So it's like on one hand, they confirmed the covers that Kin Platt did, and it wasn't on there. And then they confirmed the interior of that book and just assigned his name to the cover, which is fine. But then when you start getting like my comic shop using it and everyone else, then it's a lot harder to, you know, it's almost doing a disservice, in my opinion. Oh God, maybe that's probably not even better. Just I should just bring it up. DS, why don't you bring it up on your computer and then he could show it.
About the Grand Comics Database?
No, like that book on like Heritage or something. You know what I mean? Because like, so this is the interior. Like, that guy is not the same guy that did the cover.
No, that doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
I'll see if I could pull up.
Well, there's a. Yeah, I mean, the last one sold on Heritage is CGC. The CGC.
Yeah, can you pull that up? Can you get that on the big screen?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, show that water and the ship. I mean, the plane is what does it for me.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, is it true that Grader's notes are now free? Because I haven't really been paying attention to that, but
Yes,
that's cool.
I've
Finally,
looked it up on several books, and it's there and it's free.
it's about time.
So I don't know. That plane could be anybody drawing the plane. It looks like a plane. I don't know what you mean.
I don't know. That looks like very Schomburg to me. And the boats even. I mean, look at that water. Look at that water, and then if you look at my old one, that water, it just reminds me a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not definitive. It could be or it might not be. The guys in the background don't look Schomburg-y to me.
I think so.
They look a little too reserved with their actions, sort of. I don't know. Like, I feel like they're a little more animated on Schomburg covers. But this guy,
he also, I think, maybe didn't do his best for the thrilling.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Some of them he did, but
the
this
New
guy's
York-
hairstyle, too. What's up with that? Is that a Schomburg hairstyle?
no, but even he would
he's
draw Cap's
cross-hatching
face.
his arm.
He would draw Cap's face freaking horrid sometimes. You know,
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
boats, water, planes. That was like always solid.
I hate this zoom function on
I
the
know,
laptop.
it's freaking terrible.
So dumb. I hate that. Like, why can't you just do this and be able to do it? Like, God, it's so annoying. That's one of the things about Heritage that annoys me is zooming in on these photos. It's so hard to get it like the right and then you have to like click and drag. I really don't like that.
So there's really nothing else, huh? Than Grand Comic Database, and then maybe like a fan site that they clearly devote.
Well, you have My Comic Shop too. My Comic Shop is very good.
No, but they pull from GCD.
Right. So
Let me show you one I've noticed. Check this one out. Now, I've seen this several times because all the old label books that come up have this, and they just go off the label. Yeah, I mean, here's the Mile High copy. It's an old holder, so I guarantee it says it on here. All right, so this is Weird Comics 3, and this one is a no-brainer. God, it's so annoying. Look at this. God, I hate that. All right, so look who it says the cover is.
Yep.
What?
Now it has credited, CGC has credited this cover to Lou Fine through multiple generations of their label, even up until newer generations of the label. It's only recently been changed. But if you are a Lou Fine fan or you're familiar with them, I mean, look at these characters. There's nothing Lou Fine about them at all.
Who do they say it is now?
Well, they've since changed it. It's a George Tuska cover.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's definitely if I mean, there's no question this is not Lou Fine. I mean, just look at this dude here. I mean, he's not anything.
It's not even detailed. And no offense to George Tuska, who's dead, but
yeah, totally different styles though.
yeah.
I mean, even look at the monster here. I mean, nothing about this cover is Lou Fine other than it's a Fox book. But you know, when you go on,
that he's trying to mimic him a little bit.
In the descriptions, they go by the label. So Lou Fine's bondage cover would be desirable in just about any grade, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's one Mile High. That sold in 2003. Here's a 2022 sale, and I think it's fixed by now. Yeah, see, George Tuska cover.
Okay.
It was a new holder. So at some point, they fixed it. But I saw one last year on Comic Link in one of these holders, and it still said George Tuska. And that's like a no-brainer. It's definitely not Fine. I mean, you wouldn't know who it is, but you could tell it's definitely not Lou Fine.
Why is it in a
That's
magazine
just another
holder?
example of the labels are not always right.
Why is that in a magazine holder?
Well, these early Fox books are large anyway, and then if you get the slightest spine roll, this one doesn't really have a spine roll, and I've seen this one in a regular sized holder.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
I think it's just hit and miss, but I mean, when it's in a regular sized holder, it takes up the entire thing.
yeah, maybe because of the new well that they have. The new
Well, there's some books like early DC, same thing. Like you get a tiny bit of a spine roll, and you're at risk of getting the magazine.
Yeah, I mean, this thing takes up the entire slab, but there's not even like an inner well, really. I guess there is, but yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's another example where you can't go by the label. Weird Comics 1.
So what we're getting at is you have to do your research if you want to dispute, but there's ways you can do it. There's GCD, there's a fan site. Well, there was another one that was around for a while. God, what was that called? It was green. I remember that. They're no longer around. But like Atlas had its own site, Atlas Comics, whatever, and that would go into detail of who did what story exactly, you know? So it would say, okay, there was a story in an Atlas book, and because a lot of the Atlas titles, let's say, had 4 or 5 different stories in there. They would go into detail. Say Sid Shores did this, and Gil Kane did the artwork, and like Lawbreakers or something like that. That was very common. So Atlas had its own site for Atlas Sales, it might have been, or Atlas something. I'll try to find that. I use that the most when I was doing my Atlas research and timely research. I was doing that the most because that I was telling. You know, you go to Grand Comic Database, and a lot of times you'll see question marks on it. And then you go to the Atlas where it says these people worked there, and they saying, no, this was Gil Kane, early, 1940s Gil Kane. This was a 48, 49, like some of the westerns, question who did them, and you could just look at the art and say, boy, how they improved. Now, when they were very young, I mean, artists evolve too. Let's be honest. I mean, early versions of one thing turn into something later on. I mean, so you have to take that into account as well. Um, but you got to do your research, and without a signed cover, and I use the example of the Phantom Ladies, a lot of them that are attributed to Baker just don't look like Baker to me. At least two of them.
I have
And
to say though, I do think that's part of what makes Golden Age something special is the fact that there is mystery. There is, you can't just go back to that time period and look at all these digital photos or whatever. Like
Yep.
some you can't find photos of nothing, and you
Mhm.
can't find photos of. I mean, there's no surviving art, or is there?
Well,
Like
that's
mystery
one of the
is
things with the
really
Atlas.
so cool. I
Why
love
the
it.
Atlas site works so well and is been used the most is they had some original art and that they kept, and back then how they paid people, same way they paid Marvel in the 70s and the 60s and 70s was the same thing they did. The art, they would write down who did it and the amount. So it would be 35 or $15 for this and $5 for inking for this guy, and it would say it on the back what it was. I mean, I have some of the Buscema work I have has $40 on it, so John got paid $40 or $30, and somebody else paid $10 to ink it or whatever. And that was pretty common with Atlas, and because that was their bookkeeping, so it made sense. Um, when you're dealing in these internet sites, I mean, prior to the internet, it was your best guess. I mean,
Yeah.
Fiction House is a real tough one. Fiction House was, unless it was somebody who you knew who did the artwork, i.e., a Lou Fine, you could recognize a Lou Fine, except the case of the weird, but that's not fake Fiction House, or a Dan Zolnerwich, or someone who has a very distinct style. But if you put in a Joe Doolin, Jack Kamen,
Well,
Solardo,
John Solardo did some stuff too.
Solardo, they're very similar.
Yeah.
They're drawing characters that have been around for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years. So they're drawing the character as it was. So Solardo is a good example of someone who gets confused, but Solardo signed a lot of his stuff, thank God. That's what's been good. Zolnerwich did. Baker did not start signing his stuff till later on. LB Cole is obviously very obvious when he does his. I mean, it's
Yeah, I think LB Cole signed everything.
you have a distinct style.
But I mean, even if LB Cole signed nothing, you would know instantly which book.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. There are 5 artists I tell people that if you look at it, you could be 20 feet away and say that's an LB Cole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's he's probably the number one that you could spot.
There's another book that's interesting, and I have done research on it, and I don't have a definitive answer, but I have an opinion. But Black Cat Mystery 50. Okay. Now CGC credits that as a Lee Elias cover.
I was gonna say I've always heard Lee Elias.
But it's about 50-50 among people in that genre that think it's Lee Elias or if it's Warren Kramer. Warren Kramer did a lot of work for Harvey as well. Now, Tomb of Terror 15, the other exploding face Harvey book, that's a Lee Elias cover, and he signed it. Okay, he signed almost all. I don't know any other Lee Elias Harvey covers PCH that are not signed, and he has a very distinctive signature. He has a circle, and he writes Lee Elias in the circle, and that circle's on the cover. It's like almost like a stamp.
He copied that with every Jack Davis cover. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly like Jack Davis. So
Yeah.
on the Black Cat 50, that's not on there. Now, if you look closely and compare the two, there are some differences in like the way the exploding faces are and the way the hairlines are. It's similar enough, though, that the way those two faces are drawn, I think it is Lee Elias. But it'd be the only one he didn't put his signature on, and he has a very distinctive artistic signature that he is sure to include on every one. So there's no way to know for sure, but CGC credits it to Lee Elias, but I've never seen anywhere that it's proven somehow that it's him.
Wonder if that original art has ever been up for sale.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's
Because
Yeah, that's a good way to find out. You know,
but I'll show you for people that don't know
They have
what Lee Elias's signature looks like. I'll show you.
I haven't the Elias book somewhere.
I want to shout out so Comic Art Live is a channel, and Bill does has been having great interviews with these old timey collectors, and he just recently had Joe and Nadia Manarino, and I'm not entirely sure. It seems like they were art dealers involved in high end comic art, like at the earliest, like on Christie's, you know, before Heritage and all that stuff. But I think they have something to do with Heritage now. But they recently had an interview with them, and he was showing one of his Schomburg.
Oh, the speed, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And he talks about, it's a great interview. You should check it out. He talks about all these crazy things. Like he said that he went to Harvey, like his friend called him up because he's like, you got to come over here to the Harvey place now. They're going crazy and they're throwing everything out. And he said that he went there and bought all this Harvey art that, they were just gutting the place.
Was that the one in Arizona?
I don't remember if he said where it was, but he knew so much. It was really, really cool to listen to the guy talk, because he was saying like how the Harvey guys demanded all the original art, and they kept everything, like all the Terry and the Pirates strip art. They demanded they didn't let anyone keep the original art. It was crazy. And
Marvel, there's a great story of Timely, which is sad if you think about it, is that they started to run out of room. And so there was a woman who used to run the closet area, like was in the back. She's well known. She was one of the original Marvel people. She just passed recently. And I was talking to a guy who is in his late 60s, was an original art collector since 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And he would go to the places, and they started taking things, and this woman came in and said, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, it's over. We're throwing it out." She goes, "Don't you dare throw this stuff out." And she asked, at the time, I think Stan was in between things. It was the 60s. And they were like, "Well, nobody wants this stuff anyway." He goes, "Well, let's get a second warehouse just for this art." And she categorized all the art there. And some of the things that are missed, if you want to know, nobody has ever seen the cover to Avengers 4.
Well, in that same interview I was telling you about, he went into some detail. He didn't want to give out too much, but that I think it was early 80s, some people broke into, I don't know if it was that warehouse, but a Marvel warehouse, and were going around. They got a price guide, and these are like just normal thieves. They got a price guide, and they looked at the addresses of like the people who were advertising in there, and they would show up. I think it was around New Jersey, New York area, and they were selling whole books of the Silver Age Kirby.
Yeah,
$100 a page.
That's a true story. That's 100% true story. Because I was going to say is that warehouse got broken into.
Yeah.
I didn't have to watch this interview now. This warehouse that got broken into, and what was taken in there has some of the stuff has never been found, including the original cover to Avengers 4. It has never surfaced since then. It was all the Silver Age stuff. Now a lot of the Timely stuff got tossed. We know this for a fact. You know?
Yeah, they talk about using that when there's a flood or something. They would just put the pages down on the ground to soak it up. I don't know.
It always reminds me of if I would have been like Kramer and the Merv Griffin set was thrown out, you know, when he brought in the Merv Griffin set to his house. It's the same. There was a dumpster that probably housed so much of the original art, and it was unfortunate, but it's true that did happen.
And look at this. painting they have, they talked about this one, and it's gorgeous. It is the first Zorro pulp cover, and they have the original art to that.
Nice.
And it's really, really cool. Oh, and he was talking about collecting comics in the 60s. He said that he would he would see an ad in Marvel Comics. This was like 1968, because he talked about Cap 100. He saw an ad for that. So he would go around to anyone that place would have comics, and if he got there like months in advance, like as soon as he saw the ad in Marvel Comics, he went to those people, and they were able to order more. And he was buying like 30 copies of, Nick Fury 1 and
Yeah.
the Surfer 1 and those kind of things. But he was saying back then, finding Golden Age books was, even back then, was like super, super, super hard, which I thought that was cool to hear, like that it's been that, that difficult.
I can tell you how hard there's a guy who's is out of Minnesota. He's well known collector of Archie comics. He was collecting, and this is back in the mid to late 60s. It was so hard to find the early Peps back then. Impossible. He said it was easier to find him, he said, in the 80s than it was in the 60s. Because people found him. And the other thing was, everything was coverless.
Yeah. One more thing he said,
because we joke and we say, why is there a coverless copy of Superman 1?
Did they send it back?
They sent it back.
Did they he told on the interview, this was crazy, like that the 4-color place, like the like Barks,
the Disney, yeah.
There was like a guy who had like boxes of the original art, but most of them were colored because they were giving them to their kids and stuff to color in like a coloring. Isn't that crazy?
Well, there's the comic strip, the comics like that were in the newspapers. There was some of those. They were done on blocks like this big originally, right? Some of those of the Snoopy characters, the Charles Schultz stuff, he gave them, like his nieces and nephews or whoever it was coloring them in as coloring books. Meanwhile, it's just amazing how this. I mean, I heard the Star Wars stories of Manning, of Russ Manning stuff. He was like, nobody cared in the 90s, early 90s about Star Wars. I mean, it had its run and that was it. And now a comic strip is going for thousands of dollars, which is ridiculous. But in the Sunday morning, the funnies or whatever you want to call it, those things, a lot of people do that. The Heathcliffs, there was a guy who, I think he's either New York or he's originally, he knew somehow, he moved from Ohio to there, and he knew one of the big time artists, and he used one of the big artists, I forget who it was, gave him all this art and just kept giving him all this art to have his kids draw on it, or to trace over it so it's got marks all over it,
God.
And with tracing paper and stuff, or there was that. There was because I've always asked, like I asked somebody about if they ever found any of the old Atlas covers, and they're like, they're probably all gone.
Although the dude said he had, someone brought up Carmine Infantino.
Yeah.
And he says he has over 2,000 pages.
Oh, I'm sure.
So there's people out there who have a lot of stuff.
Steranko's got warehouses full of original art.
Wow, really?
Yeah. He's got ridiculous art. He said one time, like, he doesn't have the original to like one or two things, but he would, if they would only give him $125 for a cover, he would say, I want it back, you know. But if he gave him 140, they could keep it.
Well, I remember there was an interview with him, and I thought this was really cool. He said, like, the interview was maybe 10 years ago, and I think he was talking about something 10 years prior. But he said, and I think he was talking about Romita Sr., that Romita Sr. Finally left Marvel. He contacted Steranko and said, hey, I just, when I left, you know, I moved out all my stuff, and just, you know, Romita just had tons of shit there, I guess. But he had a Steranko cover, and he said, yeah, this is yours. And like Steranko expressed like how thankful he was and how much of a nice guy Romita was for doing that. Because, you know, at that point, the prices of original art had already like, I mean, 'cause this was like in the 90s or 2000s, I think, when this happened. So, but I thought that was cool that they just gave him that.
Yeah,
because Marvel wouldn't have.
No, that was the thing that, because that was what Jim said, was what, even when he was working with like various public publishers, he argued with them, and he goes, if you're only going to give me $100, I want it. If you give me 150, you can, or 125, whatever it was. And he would have somebody, he would have the check sent so he didn't have to pay taxes on it. So he would send it to his little brother, who was only 16, for him to do it.
I want to know where all the Schomburg, like all those
gone. I'm sure it's gone. I mean, I can tell you right now, Golden Age art is, I mean, there are Fiction House pages out there. There's a lot of that stuff is out there. I mean, you'll find them, but that's a different publisher altogether. You don't see much Atlas Timely ever show up, ever. I mean, you don't see Jack Kamen stuff as much anymore, ever. You know, you don't. That's the one Fiction House unicorn.
But there are some black holes.
There are. I mean, there, you never know when something gets found. I mean,
like Bill Everett, one of my favorites. His family is so well off that they didn't even care about pursuing any of the rights to the characters, because Simon and those guys asked, because he had just as much right to get, or his family to get some rights on the Submariner stuff, and they just didn't he? They don't care.
The first Human Torch guy too?
No, he got screwed. And he got so mad when Marvel put the old Human Torch in the annual like 4 or something in the Silver Age, because that meant that he couldn't.
He's known for drawing the first Torch and first Submariner.
Yeah, but because they did that, he couldn't get the copyright again or something. And in a book, he talks about, or his daughter talks about, he grabbed every single piece of art he had and into the backyard and burned everything.
Jeez.
Because he was so mad.
But I know Marvel.
Well, if there was stuff that survived, that shit's gone.
Yeah, well, because Marvel Silver Age, the artists didn't keep their shit. I mean, sometimes they kept their stuff. Like I've heard Buscema got a few of his covers. Gil Kane certainly did. Ditko did not get anything, but I think they got it when they were later on. I think they had to ask for it, and you know, they wanted it, they got it. If they didn't,
Did you find that thing, DS?
Oh, yeah, I kind of got sidetracked.
Last year, we were talking about the signature.
Yeah, the Lee Elias thing. Yeah, so I got sidetracked doing some other stuff.
No problem.
It looks like Lee Elias' signature is missing from quite a few of the Harvey PCH. So that wouldn't be unusual for the Black Cat 50, apparently. So I don't know. I mean, it's CGC is calling that a Lee Elias cover. It looks very similar to the Tomb of Terror 15. I think it's a Lee Elias, but I know a lot of people have been saying it's a Warren Kramer cover. And I guess there's no way to know for sure on some of that Harvey stuff. Because Kramer did some covers and some interiors when he worked for Harvey, so there's no way to know for sure, I guess. But yeah, any of the Eiger shop stuff too, there's no way to know.
Well, I was going to say the Eiger shops is the one where, you know, they didn't sign a lot of. I mean, there are some that some of these guys didn't want him signing it. You know, they
They
don't-
weren't allowed to sign. Some
they
of them.
weren't allowed to. Yeah, I mean,
Wasn't that Harvey?
that was a lot of them. I'm sure Bob Iger didn't allow him to do it.
Did they get to keep their EC artwork? EC artists?
I've seen EC covers.
A lot of that has
Based on
survived.
Heritage, so
Yeah, a lot of that has survived, but I don't know.
Yeah,
if
those come up for auction.
yeah,
I don't know
they're
if they went to the artists though. Probably not.
No, I got sidetracked because I saw this article. Apparently, Russia bombed or attacked a Ukraine nuclear plant, and it's now on fire.
Well, that's not
So
good.
all the U.S. stocks like crashed after hours pretty hard. So
I thought you were gonna say like they started attacking the Ukraine. I was like, oh, welcome to last week.
yeah. No, I guess they bombed or blew up a nuclear power plant in the Ukraine. It's on fire. So I was checking the after hours stock quotes, and a lot of them are way down. Like
Yeah,
everything's
actually,
down.
I've already got an update on my computer that.
Why would
circuit-
that make the stocks go down?
Any
Just
uncertainty?
uncertainty, any type of global thing that could have ripple effect across economies globally. I don't think in the stock market, I think the fear of something does more damage than the actual thing itself.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
the
it's
fear of
snowball.
Russia invading was causing stocks to fall. And
Yeah.
then when Russia actually did invade, stocks went up. You know what
I mean,
It's like,
oil will be a guarantee by the time you wake up tomorrow. It'll be over $110 a barrel. That I can
yeah, I
guarantee.
mean, oil and gold are going up right now. What's crude at?
It says that
Yeah, it's at 109 right now.
the nuclear plant is secured.
Well, I mean, I'm not really worried about it. Look, what I'm hoping is if Google crashes tomorrow, I'm going to buy a couple more shares.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got till July for that split, so I'm trying to get some good shares of Google before it splits. So, yeah, I mean, if stuff crashes down where it doesn't have anything to do with the actual companies themselves, it's just because of global
What is that? A 4-for-1 they're doing, or 10-for-1?
20 for one.
20-for-1, right? Yeah.
So yeah, if you have 10
First
shares,
page, we got
you're
this.
up to 200.
So, all right. Well, so that's with our little lesson. Do your research. Go find some sources, some out there. Let me see if I can find that Atlas source.
Well, and I think that's another untapped market. You know, if you did the research and you can, like if that book was a known Schomburg, he probably couldn't have got it that cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you know something that some comic shop or whatever doesn't know, then
I'm going to put the link.
you might be able to score some cool stuff on the cheap.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of Baker stuff that's not credited to Baker that's out
Yeah.
there. There's a couple I've seen.
That's
that I
right,
think are
and I've got-
definitely Baker covers.
Yeah.
This
Buy
actually,
those and then prove it.
on new labels, this is Baker. It says Matt Baker cover art, but it doesn't say did the cover. However, it's been known that now it is because everybody looks at it and says, well, that's obviously a Baker, and it's not one of these other four idiots. So
And it's that mystery of the golden age that makes that possible, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
here's the website I'm going to put out there for everybody. It's Atlas Sales.
Atlas Sales. Yeah, I don't know if I've been there.
It's AtlasTales.com.
Oh, Atlas Tales.
Yeah, and if you go in there, you could look up by creator and browse creator. Everybody from Kirby to, you get their works and how everything they did. So,
Oh yeah, I'm on that. That's a cool site. Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. It's been my go-to for everything. Like Bill Everett is the first one I bring up, and the first one he did was Marvel Comics 1 for them.
Right.
And, pencils and it's signed, but we knew that, you know. Attributed, pencils, Human Torch, Submariner Meat, 10-page art, Marvel Mystery Comics 8, you know.
What
that
does it say about the cover of number 9?
Says he signed it.
The cover of 9.
So if you click on the Marvel Mystery 9, cover was July 40. Cover credits Alex Schoenberg, pencils attributed.
Pencils to Everett?
No, Schoenberg.
Because I've heard that Everett did some pencils for that.
Well, it's possible for sure. It says in there, and it'll go into it, you know.
Yeah, I think the best way, if you were like an investigative reporter, to find this out would be to dig up financial records as far as who was paid for what on what day. And then you could get a range of who was paid for drawing covers, how much, what the rate was, what the check amounts were, and the dates, and then what dates certain work was submitted. Like if the cover was submitted on a January 4th and a check was written on January 4th or January 5th, that would be good evidence that that's the person who did that cover. And then it would take a couple days or whatever for the inking and then the coloring, and then you would see further checks. I don't know if that would, I mean, I don't know. I think of financial stuff for these companies it's all
but
on
Goodman did all kinds of doctoring up in that regard.
I mean, I don't know. You
Sure.
wouldn't get an answer to all your questions, but you would get some good relevant information out of that investigation.
Yeah.
That would be interesting in Golden Age history, but I don't think it would answer all these questions we have. But I think the financial records part would be a good area to investigate to match up some of the stuff. I don't know how much all of it. I mean, different companies would have different ways of paying and some, you know, different dates of submissions, different record keeping, and some of it's gone and some of it's probably not. And it would be a chore, and I bet you would not answer a lot of questions, but you would get some gems of knowledge out of that investigation. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I would get, in the case of Marvel 1, like they, you know, it was the house, I forget the name of the company, but, you know, they were making comics, and Timely was buying the whole comic off of them. So they'd be paying them, and then so you'd have to get the record from them to Bill Everett because it wasn't coming from Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, is that stuff exist? I don't know. I mean, there's financial records go back a long time, and a lot of that stuff's just stored in boxes in places. And I'll bet you some of that stuff exists still. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting if you had plenty of resources and free time and nothing else to do, and you decided to do that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Didn't have a job, just traveled around and investigated that for 2 years and just dug up whatever you could. I bet you'd find more than you think you would, honestly.
We would make, if we were all rich, we would do that and make a TV show out of it that probably get the same viewership as this show.
Yeah, it would be like the Oak Island show, except you would find the treasure finally. It'd be like Oak Island with an actual treasure find. You know, you ever watch the Oak Island show?
I watched 2 episodes. I'm like, these guys aren't finding shit.
You know, the irony is I've watched all those seasons. The irony, they've never found the treasure, okay? They've just destroyed the island looking for it. The real irony is that the treasure of Oak Island is the island itself. It is an untouched, beautiful piece of nature. That island itself is the treasure. Now, that island is divided up into a whole bunch of lots. And these guys on the Oak Island treasure hunter guys, they bought up all these lots from all these other owners, except for one owner who refused to sell their lot. They still own it. They won't sell the lot. They won't let them on the lot to do anything. It's like the one little, that the actual treasure that's left on Oak Island is that one lot that still hasn't been dug up and trashed by bulldozers. That's the irony of the show. They've destroyed the island looking for the treasure when the treasure was the island itself.
They destroyed it? Oh my God. That's.
I mean, they've dug up with bulldozers the whole freaking island, dude. But I'm telling you, like, that island it's basically mostly uninhabited. It's wilderness. It's not real big. It's a beautiful little piece of nature. that's quiet and it's off the coast and it's just a beautiful place. And that's why people bought lots on it. And one group family still lives there. And that is the treasure. You know what I mean? These guys have, if you watch that show, they show these aerial views of where they're currently working, and they're going around the whole island. And they're just clearing all the trees, and it's just big patches of dirt and holes where they've been. And it's just like they're trashing the whole fucking area. It's a shame, really, because they've just ruined the actual treasure that exists. So I don't know. Every time I watch it, I get mad at it, and they never find it. The only thing they found, the best thing they found, were some coins, which they hired this guy who's like a professional metal detector guy, and he has like a handheld metal detector, but a pricey one, like a high end. He found more on one show with that metal detector in his hand than they have with all their bulldozers, digging up acre after acre. This guy with a metal detector went in there and found cool stuff. The coolest stuff I've ever seen on a show is from that guy with a metal detector and a spade, like a metal detector and then a spade and a shovel to like dig up the spot, and found some coins. The show is retarded, man.
I think the treasures, the big finds in the future, I think there's a lot of people who came into huge money back in the 40s and 20s and 30s and 50s, whatever, and their estates are still generating money, and they have hundreds and hundreds of properties in like New York, all over the place, and there could be warehouses full of who knows what's in there, stuff that like you wouldn't think was a treasure, like the generation, like the kid growing up and he's like an adult in the 70s isn't going to think shit about some publishing company that his grandfather owned. And there's so much money, like those, no one's touching those warehouses or buildings. They don't need to sell anything because they still have all this money, and who knows if they ever will need to sell anything. But all that shit is just sitting there. And yeah, someday, maybe.
Yeah, that's why shows like American Pickers is cool, because they actually will just drive around randomly and stop at places like that. And sometimes they have places where they're like, well, can we look in there? And they're like, well, I don't even have a key for that padlock. That's been locked for 100 years. We've never been in it. And they get in it, and there's like stuff from like the 1800s.
It's so fascinating. Yeah.
I like those guys in Iowa. They come here a lot because it's driving distance. And they came here for a barn that they got here, and the guy looked at it and he goes, and he's negotiating, and the guy sits there. He goes, if you really got cash, and he pulls off the sheet, and this is a 1964 and a half Mustang, got 4 miles on it. And he goes, what? He goes, wife bought it for me, couldn't drive, lost my vision, and he's never driven at all. He goes, but we worked at the Ford plant, got like out there, they pay a fortune for it. Well, they didn't buy it. They reached out and Ford bought it, but it was a big story here in the newspaper.
That's cool.
They've been in the basement of a bar here in town that said, we can't get this stuff out of here. And that's exactly what the owner of the bar was like, get this stuff out of here. And it's from when it was a brothel in the 1800s. So it's all these old beds and shit in there. It's hysterical.
Yeah. I mean, because even thinking about myself, I have some stuff that collectible shit that some people hound me for, not comics, but like, I'm just like, it's not like what you're offering me isn't enough for me to care to go through the process of finding it. And like, so I can imagine the rich, real rich, they have just no reason to touch any of that stuff.
People offer me a lot of money for the sword,
like gladiator sword.
Yeah, this is old. This is really old, but the sheath is what makes this thing good. It's in perfect condition, and people are like, "Oh, it's not metal." I'm like, they didn't use metal sheaths. Yeah, this is a Celtic sword.
They say in that interview I was telling you
this
about.
This was to find out one of them stupid things that I'm like, it's Damascus steel.
That's awesome. The Schomburg guy, on that interview, he was saying that collectors, he thinks we have like an archaeologist kind of gene in us, that
Yeah,
makes
that
it.
makes sense because
want-
I'm interested in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even outside of comics, it all interests me. Like even
Yeah.
the Oak Island thing, I watch and it annoys the shit out of me, but I watch it. The American Pickers, I watch. Man, I watch Antique Roadshow when they do replays of that on tonight.
Okay, do you see that knife that's on the wall?
Yeah,
That's a 1800s Bowie knife.
that's cool.
There's a pretty big market for blades.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's talk about rabbit hole. I've got some. I mean, I have. It depends on the steel, but like that's 1095 steel, which is the grade. I have to put 3-in-1 oil on that all the time.
Well, when I got in my house, in the attic, I found a very old blade.
Your blades are important, man.
Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
you know what else I've been sort of getting into a little bit is
Yeah.
I'll be
coins.
right back.
I've been getting a little into coins. I was into coins when I was younger, and I've been looking back into them over the last, I don't know, several months or whatever. And coins are interesting because they've been collectible forever. So anytime they've been found over the last however long, they've been kept and preserved. And there's so many real ancient coins available. It's amazing. Like
My
I'm
parents have.
looking for golden age books that have like 6 on the census, and you can't find them, and they're only from 1940s. There's coins from like ancient Rome that are
Yep.
plentiful that show up on Heritage Auction every week. It's insane
did you
the
ever
amount
see
of
that?
coins available.
That block that they found in some shipwreck where all the coins
Yeah.
were together.
Yeah, off the coast
I'm
of
like-
India.
Yeah, someone's got to open that up.
Yeah. No, there's all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, it's interesting in this country because our history only goes back, to 1776 or before like middle of 1600s. But if you're talking like European history or East Asian history,
That's cool.
this stuff goes back thousands and thousands of years. Egyptian
Yeah.
history, stuff like that.
This thing is, it has some kind of. This was like buried in the attic when I bought this house.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It says it's from Bontic Bolo, a single-bladed tool of tempered steel fashioned with wooden scabbard, hand-carved design. Northern Luzon. I don't even know where the heck that is. But, the blade's like all messed. Like,
Yeah, that's somebody who didn't put 3-in-1 oil on it.
but
Yeah.
it's
But
definitely.
It's a machete.
Yeah. I've had quite a few. Those are cool, man. Blades are very big market. You'll be surprised. Sometimes sheets sell for more. That looks like Eastern Africa almost.
Yeah, I would assume Africa.
Like the Ivory Coast or Angola or something like that.
I think Luzon is Filipino.
Oh,
Oh, it could be.
I think it's like Philippine Island chain sort of thing. I think I know that from like
cool, but it's kind of creepy.
history.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. You never know if these things have been used. Like that knife I have that I got. It's funny. It showed up
Heavy
at
as
the place, and I was at a knife show, and the guy's like, "You want this? It's got the plaque on it and everything else like this." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll make you a deal for that if you give me one of your other ones that you have." I said, "Sure." I had an eagle knife from World War One. That's just really hard to find. It was an eagle head at the end of it, and he knew the story behind him. He said those were specifically used World War One by Americans that were given to them by the French as a gift,
Oh, nice.
and they only got it if they were in a trench. So most of them didn't come out of the trench. So
Wow.
Yeah.
so they only gave it to them when they were in the trench. They said, "Hey," and they gave him these knives. So that was swapped for this thing, and he's like, "These are hard to," I was like, it's so ridiculous. He's like, it's probably from the time after Bowie died. It's not Alamo, but it's probably not far after it, because it's literally got he said the marking on it would be the guy who would have done it would have been dead by the Civil War,
Yeah.
and the handle's wood. It's literally like crap wood is on the handle.
Yeah, Mike, Jeff wants to know if that you found that at Camp Crystal Lake.
Speaking of Jeff, what the hell? Did you see that flood he had? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry to hear
it's-
that. I hope nothing bad.
I have a hard time when I see flooding involving comic areas and comics. It breaks my heart to see that stuff, man. It's not even just, I'm not to lessen the financial loss that somebody suffers with their home being damaged and their assets being damaged. But I know if they're collecting comics, they will also agree with me. You can replace money and homes and stuff like that, but if you lose rare comics, you can't replace those, man. And if you're passionate about comics, I haven't had a flood, but I almost think that's the worst part of having that. If you lose comics in a flood or something,
There's only one
you
thing
can
worse.
fix the home. You can recover money over time, but you can't get some of those books back.
There's only one thing worse. And, it happened to Eric Larson, that
Yeah, Spider-Man artist,
and he was a comic art collector, and everything burned.
Yeah, I mean that was what Gabe said. Why he was selling off the Black Cat collection.
That's right.
He didn't want to have that hanging over his head year after year, living in an area where there's wildfires a lot. Because one came really close one year. That's why. Look, I don't like to fly on planes anyway, and it doesn't help that Air Disasters is one of my favorite shows. So I'm really not looking to fly. But if I were going to fly somewhere, I wouldn't even want to bring some of my rare comics with me on the flight, because if it goes down, yeah, I'm dead. Okay, I can deal with that. But these comics will be gone forever and nobody will ever see them again. And that's almost worse to me than if I died in the plane crash. If I'd taken my Dynamic 8 with me on a plane and the plane goes down in flames, yeah, okay, I'm gone. That sucks. But that Dynamic 8 is gone forever.
That reminds me of when I was a little kid. My dad took me to Target on his motorcycle, and I was on the back, and it was like my birthday or something, and I got to pick out one Nintendo game, and it was Rambo, the Nintendo game. And on the way back, we almost got in this nasty accident, but the bike was almost down, and it was nuts. But anyway, I remember telling him, "Whew, I'm so glad we're okay, because this game, we just got this game," and he was so pissed. I was more concerned about the game, bringing the game back safe than.
Yeah, I know. If I had if my place burned to the ground, I have insurance, but whatever check they write me is whatever, because you can't replace. There's only so many copies of these old books in existence, and what is there? 50? Is there 500? Well,
I don't think I would go back. I don't think I would start over.
I don't know, man. I might just never want to get back into comics again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Because the time and passion and emotional investment I put into my collection, it's I really want to invest that again. I don't know if I'd be up for it, honestly.
At least though,
when I sell them, I feel okay selling books, even the books that I love sometimes, because there's almost like a relief that now that's not losable by me. Do you know what I mean? I can never lose that one now, because I got the money out of it and it went to somebody else, and it's safe. And I have getting a safe deposit box helps, but then I worry about the bank burning down. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't alleviate. It makes it more secure. I have a safe deposit box, but I still worry about that. I don't know.
Yeah, and that people complain about the money, the rising up, but at least it kind of keeps it preserved a little bit, because it's the stuff that people throw out that really gets lost. Old toy. Think of back when comics weren't considered anything; they just chuck them. So we lost so much stuff, and at least now that they're valued, we will keep them around longer. At least.
Yeah, it's like double-edged sword, or two sides of the same coin. When we all see those pictures of the comic book burnings around the Sodi area, and we just all cringe when we see those old photos of kids throwing comics onto this bonfire. And it's so sad that stuff's lost forever because of that. but that's also part of the reason why the stuff is valuable, because
Yeah.
it's more rare, because they were burning mountains of the stuff. I'm not even counting what kids threw out or ripped up or just got lost in the dirt. And it makes this stuff more valuable now and challenging to find. Yeah, but I feel like there's at least one good example of every single comic that ever existed still out there. So as long as there's still one, like even the rarest things, I've still seen one or two of them. And just to know that they're out there is nice. You know what I mean? Nothing is gone completely. There's still at least one of everything. So that's cool.
It's a great way to do it.
It's always those things they throw out, like when CDs came out, those long boxes.
Yep.
Those are
Oh yeah,
very hard to find now, and some can be very expensive. Just because no one would ever think to keep that.
All right. Well, it's
Yep.
about
tis
the end
the
of
time.
here.
It's time.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us, sticking with us past the.
It's always fun to talk, guys.
Always
Yeah,
good.
good show.
Thank you guys very much for joining us. See you guys in 2 weeks. It'll be probably a little Wrightson talk, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah, and I should have a couple cool books to show too.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
might have one. I might have one too.
Nice.
I may. I have a
All
guy.
right, see you guys in 2 weeks.
See you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal